Well, how about as a kid, though? Did you ever play anchor dress-up, or did you dream of being in television?
I remember it was literally, I remember in high school, and I literally remember the day where it hit me, because I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew what I was good at, and I was good at writing, I was good at English, and I was doing speech and debate, and I was very interested in that. And I remember my junior year, I thought, I'm going to give this a try. And I started getting involved in the paper and the yearbook, and I just never wanted to do anything else since then. And I've been very lucky, because I have many friends who are still struggling with what they want to do when they grow up.
Well, since you both work at the same station, in Salt Lake City, it's probably an interesting news environment. I would think the news maybe is approached a bit different there, maybe not. But
it's very conservative, and it's not. I mean, this is a very conservative market as well, and you know, particularly in the mornings. I think when kids are around, you need to be very, very sensitive about stories that you air and how you present them. But yeah, that was a very conservative market, and one where there was a great deal of sensitivity to how you presented some issues.
Probably couldn't dance on the air like you do in
Although, see, no, the show that I did there was remarkably irreverent, and people were offended, and we got tons of emails. We didn't have to tell it to Tim, but tons of letters all the time, and we just kept doing our own thing, because I have a theory that I think people there, they like to pretend like they're really, 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 really conservative and maybe don't like to have as much fun as they really like to. So in the morning, they would secretly turn us on and, you know, kind of get their little fix. And just don't admit it to anybody. That's what you do. You just don't admit it. Because we did well, and it was even more crazy because we didn't have as many resources as we do here in Dallas. So we just,
or as much news.
Or as much news, exactly. There's much news.
I'm just imagining little Mitt Romney watching the show.
Exactly. He's so proud.
The other area, you guys get asked this all the time, and you kind of address it in your bios, is the hours, which to most people are brutal. And take us through your routines, I guess, about how you manage to spring out of bed in the mornings. And I guess, Tim, you're the dean of early mornings. You've been doing it for 13, 14 years in Dallas alone. But I'm assuming it never gets easy.
No, you never get used to it. I get up at between 2:30 and 3, and then get to work about an hour later. There's just so much they can do with a face like this. So it doesn't take much to get it ready. But we spend that time in between writing, rewriting, proofing, so cramming for interview segments that we have, and are doing so during the entire course of the show. I mean, I felt like a bad host when Ed came down to visit us a while back, and we basically had to ignore him because, I'm sorry, Ed, I'm like 5 minutes ahead on the script, so I'd love to chat with you, but I got to rewrite this one that's coming up in 1 minute and 45 seconds, and that. So we actually are fairly busy during the show, but then our boss, since we're doing 4 hours every day, as we love to point out to our bosses, they're very nice about just saying, look, when you're finished for the day, when you have nothing else to do, leave. Have no guilt about the 8-hour workday, because these hours are terrible. And that's terrific. You go home, get some errands, run, whatever you need to do, and I'll go home and usually have lunch with my wife and go upstairs and take a nap. And until sometime close to dinner time, get up, have a little bit of family time, watch some primetime television like real people, and go back to bed.
He does a split shift. I don't know how you do that. Or he literally does, you can do what, 3 hours in the afternoon and then three, 4 hours at night?
Yeah.
Crazy. I don't know how he does it.
Well, what's your approach?
So yeah, I've been trying to.
Well, you've been trying a lot of different.
I've been trying a bunch of different approaches.
Yeah, the ambient approach.
Exactly. I know. My latest one is now I've given up the nap. I did the nap thing for 4, 5, 6 years, and now lately I've given up the nap, and now I'm trying to go to bed earlier at 6 o'clock at night because I still need 7 hours of sleep altogether. But it's tough. I'm not going to lie to you. It is tough. You don't get used to it. I think some people are better at it than others. I've had friends who've done this job who can live on 3 hours of sleep a night and are perfectly fine. I'm not one of them, unfortunately.
You know, another area I think people, when I first started doing TV here back in the prehistoric ages, 1980. The mornings were kind of a throwaway afterthought. I think the stations, I'm not even sure if they had a full hour, maybe a half hour, kind of leading into the network morning shows. Now it's a full 2 hours from 5 to 7 a.m. And as we noted earlier, this is one hell of a hotbed of both advertising revenues and emphasis on the stations now. They all say the mornings are the second most important broadcast next to the 9 and the 10 o'clocks. What have you seen, Tim, particularly the evolution of mornings? I think you worked your way from a half hour all the way to now 2 hours, didn't you?
4 hours now, yeah.
Four, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. I started in Phoenix at the end long before anybody had heard of doing a local morning newscast. The news director said, why not just try it and see what happens? And we did 6:30 to 7 a.m. leading into the Today Show. Did very well, so they expanded backwards from 6 to 7 a.m. And of course now I think that station starts at 4:30 in the morning. Yeah, it's become increasingly important. It's, for the stations, I think, very profitable, particularly for ours, because it's 4 hours of all local revenue. What a lot of people don't realize is when you're in network programming, like the Today Show or Good Morning America or the CBS Morning News, you're sharing revenue with the network, and you are getting a pittance of the revenue that is tossed your way by the network. And there are a couple of local breaks that you might see, a couple of local commercials every hour. When you're doing 4 hours of all local, it's all local revenue. So particularly for our station, it's very important and very profitable.
He calls it a cash cow.
I think they're making money off of this, yeah.
Well, you're making more, I mean, you're
All
making
local,
more.
all morning local.
I'm
business
sure
that
your
way,
station
yeah.
realizes and rewards you for making more money for them than any other TV anchors or hosts in town.
They let us leave at about, when we're done, they let us leave. So that's, to me, is worthwhile, yes. They're very nice.
Is it kind of a gilded cage, though? I mean, if you're good at it nowadays, it's not a springboard. They want you to stay there. And I know, Tim, you, I think, want to remain on mornings until you
I'm not going anywhere.
fade
Let's
away.
be honest. I'm on mornings for the rest of my life, until they carry me out feet first.
Megan?
No, I think you and I talked about this before, how I have been doing mornings for so long, and that's really where I've gotten my anchor training. And I've been at a Fox station, which is such a loose format compared to all the others. And I like to say I have a lot of bad habits if I ever wanted to move up to the, really staunch evening news, I mean, because I can just, say do-over if I mess up, or, or just slouch if I'm kind of, tired, I'll hear about it. But you know what I mean, it's so much more laid back. And it's fun. I mean, I've done the evenings, I filled in on the evenings before, and, it's a different experience, a completely different experience. It's not as creative. I enjoy the mornings, but yeah, the hours are tough. So I'm not sure. I think I could still probably I could do the serious stuff and be okay, but I like the creativity in the morning.
Nighttime people drive really nice cars.
They do, though. It is true. They have like 2 or 3 of them, don't they? Each. Have you noticed that? That is true. So, we'll see. Never say never.